Good morning, guys. Welcome to a new week. It's Monday and I'm excited. I'm going on a field trip today and Kylie's class to the Indiana State Museum, and we're gonna do some exploring there. But I wanted to start a new series this week on beekeeping. So if you happened to tune in yesterday on Facebook, I had some information about our bees, well, I guess picture documentary. I wanted to go live when Bill was gonna put the bees in. Hey Tina. So I'm talking more about our bees. So we took the bees up to my dad's basically, and I was gonna do a live video when he released them, but I was like really afraid there might be like bad words coming out of his mouth if he started getting stung, because Bill decided that he was going to not wear his bee suit. Like, he has the whole getup, and you may have seen my pictures on Facebook, but I was afraid. I'm like, what if the bees like start swarming and like come at me and come at Bill? And I thought, I'm not even gonna do it. Well, the funny thing was, no. So how we got into this whole bee thing is, well, I don't even know for sure. I asked Bill this last night. I said, how did this like all come about? Because both of us are people that like different things, and we have different hobbies, and we like to try new things. And so we had been watching a Netflix a documentary, I guess, about bees, and we both found it super fascinating. And I don't know, maybe last fall he got some beeswax from some local people and was melting it down. He's been doing all this stuff with candles for a while. So I think it just was an interest that we both had. I like honeybees hi there. I like honeybees just because my name means honeybee, so I've always kind of had a fascination with bees. I don't like getting stung, and somebody posted that we could keep the bees because they were afraid they would get stung. However, what I've learned, I mean, watching these bees yesterday, like I said, none of them they were very docile, and so we had sprayed them with some sugar water, like as we were making that transition from taking them out of the hive to putting them in, or taking them out of their box to putting them in a new hive that Bill had built, which people were saying they'd never seen anything like it because Bill designed it and like made it himself. So we'll see how the bees do with that. But I thought they were going to go like crazy. There were going to be bees everywhere, and I thought it might be a little rambunctious, so I didn't tape it live, but it wasn't. It was like they were so calm, and they hardly moved for a while. It took them a while before they started figuring out how to get out of the hive and how to get back in the hive, but it really was a cool process. So these bees are up at my dad's. You see, we have a beautiful lot that's wooded. This lot sold me when I was looking at houses. However, Bill the bee man had the opportunity to get some extra bees yesterday from a guy that was wanting to downsize, and we thought about putting him over on like the back of our house. I would love it, because I think just watching him at my dad's, it was fascinating. But I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, so we have birthday parties, and because our house is small, we usually come outside and the kids play, and my kids sometimes will have friends over to the backyard. And I just thought, gosh, do I really want to take that chance of having bees swarming and kids freaking out? And you know what happens when you start swatting at bees? They sting you. So bees normally, though, don't sting. And so that's what I want to say, is that most creatures, I mean, like dogs, they don't normally come up and just bite you unless you threaten them. Now, it does happen, but same thing with bees. They don't normally just come up and like sting you. It's usually when you get into their area. Which brings me to the point, about 10 or 11 years, no, it's been more than that, about 12 or 13 years ago, I got stung by a wasp right in the crevice of my hand here, my hand that has nerve damage. And that thing, after I got stung, my whole hand from the wrist down was swollen up like a balloon for days. It was awful. So I think I'm pretty highly allergic to wasps. That's something to be like, I'm always on the watch for wasps. But bees, I don't think so. I've been stung many times. I don't know if, over time, I know they can get worse and worse, but I haven't been stung by a bee for a long time. So we'll see if I get stung by some, but I just thought it probably is better that we don't have them in our backyard, just because we are in a neighborhood and houses are close together, kids are over here, but I think it would be fun in the future. So Bill is excited. If anybody locally, like in the Fishers area, would like to have bees, he would love to like experiment with them and bring them to your yard, and we'd collect the honey and give you some and all that kind of stuff. But the thing about starting bees is it takes a while to develop the honey, and you got to make sure over the winter they've got enough food. So it may be next year before we really can harvest the honey if we have a good supply of these bees. but it'll be fun. So I thought this series is going to be a short one this week. I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about the top 5 tips to get started, and then I think on Wednesday I'm going to talk about some fascinating tips with bees. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention today. Yes, like I said, Bill did design his hive, so he loves to create things, and that's one thing I really enjoy watching him do, is just kind of creating things of his own design. There are so many like things on Pinterest and Google and YouTube that you can find, though, if you're interested in like creating your own. There's lots of design plans out there, but Bill always likes to do his own thing. So interesting. One little tidbit I'm going to add before I go today is, did you know how many foods are dependent upon bees? And I thought this was interesting. I think it's Albert Einstein that said, if bees disappear, we die within about 4 years, I think it is. I think that's the quote, because we are so reliant upon bees, and bees are dwindling in population around the world. A lot of thoughts are, about pesticides and different things being used, and we're not trying to save the world by having the bees. We're just having fun with it. But it is kind of a cool thing to think about ways that we can help our environment and replenish those bees. So some of the foods that are most important for bees. Almonds. Did you know if we didn't have almonds, or if we didn't have bees, we wouldn't have almonds? There was an interesting documentary, I think Bill saw it on YouTube maybe, about this guy that takes bees up to, gosh, what do I want to say, California maybe? I think it's California. And he takes his bee population and he makes like $600,000 in 1 month by having his bees up there to pollinate. Is that not amazing? What? Who knew you could make that much money in bees? But I think it's kind of cool. So then he goes up to, I think it's Washington, for the cherry blossoms. So it's a big business transporting these bees so that you can pollinate. Other things, though, that are reliant. Pumpkins. So I'm thinking of my dad's garden where these bees are at. Pumpkins are reliant upon bees. Cucumbers, apples, watermelon. Again, my dad grows a lot of watermelon. He does his own self-pollinating, but I think the bees are going to help. Avocados, blueberries, oranges, peaches, and onions. Can you imagine a world without those kinds of foods? Those are like some of our favorites. So just anyway, it's so important for bees to be in our environment, and I'm excited. Hopefully our bees survive. We're going to check on them this week. Bill, I think, will check on them midweek, and then hopefully Mother's Day we'll stop in and see. But they are super fascinating to watch. Like, if you really want to learn more about bees, go on Netflix and look for stuff about bees. Go on YouTube. It's interesting to watch. Like when the first bees started coming out yesterday, they do this little flap with their wings, and it tells the bees all kinds of information that are inside the hive. It tells them all kinds of information about where to go for their food and just their location. It helps them figure out like where they're at. So I'm excited to continue this. If you keep bees, drop a message below and let me know, and I'd love to connect with you and just know, and you'll be able to ask questions of those who are more of an expert than we are. So anyway, looking forward to sharing more information this week. If you've got questions or something that I can address this week that you're curious about with bees, I will do my best. Like I said, we're newbies, but I think sometimes it's fun to learn from other people that are just beginning. So I'll talk with you guys soon. Have a great Monday. Bye, guys.